and he was struck head on U.S. Route 95 outside of Las Vegas on his way to outside of Needles, California, on his way to a gig in Nevada. And he was struck head on. His wife was in the car with him. Sam wasn't wearing a seatbelt. His wife was. He was struck head on by a pickup truck driven by 17-year-old Troy Pearson, who had been drinking alcohol. The pickup truck crossed the center line of the roadway while trying to pass another vehicle and went into Kinnison's lane. At the time of the collision, Kinnison was traveling to Laughlin, Nevada, to perform at a sold-out show. Kinnison was found lying between the seats of his car at the scene of the collision. He was not wearing a seatbelt, and his head smashed into the windshield. He was not killed instantly, according to his brother. His wife was also injured in this crash, but later recovered after being taken to a hospital in Needles. Kinnison said to no one in particular at the time, "I don't want to die, I don't want to die." But then there was a pause if Kinnison was listening to someone. See, Kinnison had gotten out of the car afterwards and started walking around. And like paramedics, no, his friend was traveling behind him in another car and pulled over and saw Kinnison walking around, and then he fell into his friend's arms and he started saying, "I don't want to die, I don't want to die." But there was a pause if Kinnison was listening to someone, and he asked, "But why?" And then another pause, and he said, "Okay, okay, okay."
Are there questions surrounding his death?
No, he is pretty straight on. This kid was drunk, driving drunk, went into the opposite lane, hit him head on.
And then he essentially died from,
he died from internal injuries. The autopsy found that he suffered from numerous traumatic injuries, including a dislocation in the cervical spine, a torn aorta, and torn blood vessels in his abdominal cavity, which was death within minutes.
Yikes. So how long after he got fired from the set of the movie?
This was about 4 years later.
Okay, so some time had passed by. And in that time, the movie was like, they stopped production, essentially?
Yeah, they weren't. They were stopping the production on it. They only filmed one scene, and they were just like, "That's it."
Okay, sorry if I'm I'm just curious as to what the movie's doing at this point. So 4 years passes by, and this guy dies in a head-on crash in the middle of the desert in Nevada.
Okay. Yeah. So time has passed, and still they're like, "We want to make this film." And artist is like, "We want to make this film. We want to get this film made." So they ended up giving the script to another famous comedian actor, John Candy. People were not sure John Candy who is. He was a Canadian actor who had rose to fame through Toronto's branch of Second City and Second City Television. He was in Stripes. His big breakout role was in Splash. He was in Summer Rental, The Great Outdoors, Cool Runnings, Spaceballs, Uncle Buck, Only the Lowly, and your favorite movie, Ogul, JFK.
Everybody that's our age or close to our age knows who John Candy is.
Exactly.
There's absolutely nobody in our age demographic that wouldn't know John Candy. Yes, one of my favorite films, JFK. Absolutely.
Yes. He was in Home Alone. Yes, he was in Home Alone. He had an appearance in Home Alone. And he was also in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
That's right, and probably a list of other movies that we're not thinking about right now.
Let me bring up his film list. Hold on. Yeah, because his film list.
Definitely a prolific actor, like Joel just said now.
Yeah. Let's see. He was in the Blues Brothers.
Oh my God.
Yes, he was in the Blues Brothers. He was in 1941, the Steven Spielberg comedy flop. He was in National Lampoon's Vacation, Brewster's Millions, Sesame Street Presents Follow That Bird.
My favorite.
He has an appearance in Little Shop of Horrors. Let's see. Who's Harry Crumb? Yeah, Home Alone. Nothing But Trouble. Career Opportunities. Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, anyways, just a very prolific
This
actor.
is it's very funny.
A ton of
Very funny.
movies. I don't know how long he was active as an actor, but definitely a ton of movies that we're all aware of from
From 73 to 94.
Got it. Okay. Okay, so they approached John Candy.
Yes, John Candy was interested in doing it. He was trying to figure out a time in which to do it, but unfortunately, on March 4th, 1994, he was while filming the film Wagons East in Mexico, he was found dead in his trailer from a heart attack.
Yeah. Jeez.
The exact cause is unknown because they didn't perform an autopsy.
Wow. So he was filming another movie while the producers for Atuk approached him.
They approached him before he was filming Wagons East, his last
and
film.
He had agreed to work on Atuk, or
yes, he agreed. He got the screenplay, he read it, and they said they were going to make changes to it, and he was like, "Okay, agreed. We'll just need to pick a time which we'll all be free to be able to film it." And before he was able to film it,
he passed away.
He passed away. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely tragic as well. Just like Belushi, and you said they're both from, or you said he's from Toronto, Second City, and Belushi's from Chicago. I'm sure they knew each other and they were friends.
Yeah. And also at around that same time, Michael O'Donoghue, who was an American writer for like Saturday Night Live and National Lampoon's magazine, and also I don't know, no one's sure what role he would have played because he wasn't an actor, but he was suffering from migraine headaches for a while, and he ended up passing away around the same time too, November of 1994, of a cerebral hemorrhage.
Oh wow, okay.
And he was attached to the film. I don't know whether he's going to do rewrites, produce it. No one's sure what he was going to be doing with that film, but he ends up passing away also. So the United Artists still wants to make this movie. They still want to make it, even though all these deaths are associated with it. So they ended up approaching Chris Farley to play Atuk. Chris Farley jumps at the chance to do it because not only is he likes this character, but also because John Belushi was attached to it at one time before he died, and Chris Farley idolized John Belushi. Like he totally idolized and wanted to be just like him. Those who are still not familiar with Chris Farley, who, it's a younger, some might be younger before he never seen him. This is another also Saturday Night Live alumni who was a breakout at Saturday Night Live. He ended up breaking out with some of his roles. Like, I know people have heard of this. A Van Down by the River. That sketch where he plays this guy who's a motivational speaker, gets brought into his home to motivate kids, and he's telling a story about how he lives on a van down by the river.
That's an SNL skit, right? That's an SNL skit, right?
Yes, it's an SNL skit. That's probably one of his most famous skits. He was kind of like Belushi, physical comedy, another overweight comedian like Belushi.
And he had something from Chicago.
Yes, he was. He was he from Chicago?
Oh, I mean, as we'll find out soon,
No, he's from Madison, Wisconsin.
Well, I mean, close enough, I guess.
Close enough, yeah. He was from Madison, Wisconsin, but also he started got to start at Second City, at Chicago Second City, ends up turning to Saturday Night Live, and he ends up doing films such as Tommy Boy, which a lot of people seen, Black Sheep, Tommy Boy, Black Sheep with David Spade, Beverly Hills Ninja. He was also in Billy Madison, Coneheads, Almost Heroes, Wayne's World, movies such as that. Extremely funny, extremely talented. But like John Belushi, he also had a drug problem. Cocaine, heroin, also obese, like John Belushi as well. So you want to be like John Belushi. He also ended up receiving the same fate as John Belushi. So in December 18, 1997, Farley was found dead by his younger brother in his apartment in the John Hancock Center in Chicago at the age of 33. He died of an overdose of cocaine and morphine.
Yeah, obviously super sad as well. This one I actually, I don't remember John Belushi passing or John Candy, but I definitely remember Chris Farley passing. Yeah, that was super sad. Super, super, super sad for the comedy world. So how far was his connection with this movie then at the time?
He accepted the role. They were going to do the film. He accepted the role. They were doing some rewrites. They were about to go into production. And before they could go in production, he ends up dying.
Well.
And not only that fact that he has the script in his hands, Chris Farley ends up talking to his friend and fellow cast member, Phil Hartman, to come in and play the villain of the film, Alexander McCure. And if people are not familiar with Phil Hartman, he was also on Saturday Night Live, another Canadian-American actor, comedian, screenwriter, who was on the show around the same time as Saturday Night Live. Like when he was on Saturday Night Live, he was famous for doing impressions of Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan when he was president, various other characters. If you're a Simpsons fan, you know him as one of the voices, most famously the voice of Joy McFuhrer. Remember those things like, "Hi, I'm Joy McFuhrer. You might remember me from such things such as blah 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 and blah blah blah." Remember
of course, I remember him. Phil Hartman, just along with many other voice actors on The Simpsons, voiced many different characters, and I'm just Googling it right now. Which Phil Hartman? Let me see. Super recognizable voice.
Very, very recognizable voice. You can still hear him in certain Simpsons episodes that's on reruns. He also did such films such as House Guest, Sergeant Blinko, Jingle All the Way, and Small Soldiers. So Phil Hartman is kind of like, we don't really know if he agreed to do it, to play the role of Alexander McCure, but he did see the script. So he probably would have agreed to do it itself, but also agreed to do it at that time. But what had happened was, again, tragedy befalls him also.
His is a bit more tragic than the other ones.
Yeah, this one is just absolutely just heartbreaking. At the time, Phil Hartman's wife, he had married a former model, expired actress, Brian Odenball, born Vicky Jo Omdow, excuse me. And she was going through problems with alcohol and narcotics. She had been in rehab several times, but she kept just falling off the wagon. So what had happened was, on May 27th, 1998, Brian had visited an Italian restaurant in California with producer Christine Zadler, who said she was in good frame of mind. But after returning home, Brian had a heated argument with her husband, Phil Hartman, after which he went to bed.